All right, just a few weeks ago, President Biden made this promise on ABC News.
And are you committed to making sure that the troops stay until every American who wants to be out is out?
Yes.
Well, that aged like milk. That's not what's happening now. Obviously, American troops, they're gone. A few hundred Americans still remain in country. The administration says some of them don't want to leave. They basically have been blaming the people who are stranded there. Is there still a way out? Here with me now, California Republican congressman who has helped rescue 6 San Diego families trapped in Afghanistan. Darrell Issa is back. Welcome back, sir. What is your office doing to help these people to freedom?
Well, right now we're trying to speak to and to calm as best we can 3 separate families that we're tracking, and 2 of them, I'll be more specific about 2 of them, were in this zone, had gotten through the first Taliban checkpoint, and we're waiting and waiting as we sent information back and forth, and no one came out to get them. That was at the South Gate, and it was during a time in which they said they were extracting. Kennedy, the best way to put this is they were entitled to get out. They did what they were told. They were in the right city. They were at the right gate. And then, a little bit like an airplane that leaves half an hour before it's supposed to, and you show up, you're frustrated. These people had 22 hours left, and they left early and left people behind who had been beaten, who had been harassed. And by the way, these are American citizens. It's not even the other groups they sometimes talk about. These are U.S. citizens who wanted to get out, some of them very elderly.
Well, the U.S. government has abandoned them. What do they do now?
Well, there's 2 ways to get out now. Wait and hope that diplomacy, or what I would call tribute from this administration, is already started. Literally, the secretary already talked a few hours ago about continued aid to Afghanistan. If that isn't tribute to provide aid to a country that is now run by people that want to take us back to the 6th century, but that's what they're talking about. I'm assuming that type of tribute will have some effect. The other one is there are, as the last person mentioned, there are some groups that we've been in contact with that are having some success still getting people out. But it's a lot harder now because you've got to get them into a 3rd country by land or get them to a very small airport. And those kind of operations are highly they're difficult and they're tenuous, but that's the only way out right now. And each of the people we're working with have to make a decision. Stay sheltered, hope for the future, or make a run with a group that's trying to get them out with a chartered aircraft.
Now, those who are sheltering in place, how are they sustaining themselves? Like, are there grocery stores that are open? Are they able to get food and medicine and all the things you need to stay alive?
Well, this is not a country that you would recognize when you say food and medicine. Basically, nobody's had COVID shots. It's a very different environment. But right now, this is a country that turned over without a war, so it's not as bad as it might be. There's a couple of things we're very concerned about. The first is that it is very possible that the new government will turn off the 21st century equipment that we've left them with. They'll turn off the cell phones. They'll turn off all of the internet. At that point, our ability to speak and to work with these people and to coordinate could be really reduced.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something that no one is talking about. They're still very much in charge of the way people communicate with each other and how they have been up until this point. So we're pulling for all of your constituents and all of the Americans who are still stranded in Afghanistan. And, you know, the brazen way in which this administration turned their backs on those people, I think, is unforgivable. And they want a pat on their back to say, yay, the war is over. Look at this massive airlift. This is damage that they have caused, and it is going to take years and years to clean it up. So.
Absolutely. And Kennedy, I completely agree with your comment earlier. We don't need 23 bases in Germany. We need a few strategic bases, a few air bases that allow us the luxury of not having to fly for 8 or 10 hours in order to even look at a potential hotspot. So keep championing the fact that we need to work smarter, which we're not and we haven't been for a long time.
Absolutely right. Congressman, thank you so much.
Thank you.